The True North, the racing podcast, is presented by Vision 20 Studios. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
I'm Megan Mitchell. This is my co-host, John Morrison, and you are listening to the True North Racing Podcast.
Time to strap in, pull those belts, and get ready for an action-packed episode of the True North Racing Podcast. Are you ready to unmask? Unhelmet your favorite racers? Get ready for the most fun you'll have outside the racetrack to get you ready for the next race. You're listening to John Morrison and Megan Mitchell, and this is the True North Racing Podcast.
All right, welcome back to a new episode of the True North Racing Podcast. This is our second live show of today. I'm your host, John Morrison. Joining me today is a driver of the number 16 Ford Mini Stock over here in the Racer Corral. We got Mike Thomson sitting with us. Mike, how's it going, man?
It's going good. How are things with you?
It's going really well. Thank you for joining me today up on the stage.
Yeah, no problem. This is a different experience for me. I've never done this before. I think when we did the first podcast, I asked you, I said, what's a podcast? So this is new for me.
Yeah, you did say that. That was kind of funny. But we've been working with each other for a year now, actually. And this year we teamed up and we were able to put your car into Motorama this year. And you decided to go with a little throwback. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so obviously with the Thomson family at Flamborough Speedway has been there probably since they first opened. And my dad's cousin is both Don and Dennis Thomson. So they used to race back in the day in the Challenger Series. So I was just kind of going through Facebook and I saw, a posting of Dennis's car. And the minute I saw it, I said, well, definitely doing that next year. So just kind of drew it out on the computer and then brought it to my brother. And he's like, yeah, that would be a good idea. So it was really nice to be able to throw back to back the day with the 90s with the Challenger Series. So
yeah, the car looks really good. And if you guys are walking around the Racer Corral over here, it is just sitting behind the Great Lakes Legends and just across the hall there from the Bernie PV Mart booth there. So head on over there, check it out. It is one beautiful ride, and you're absolutely right. It's a great throwback, and that's the one thing we love is a good throwback, and I think you hit the nail on the head with that one. It looks clean. I'm excited to see that on track this year.
Yeah, you can come up with all these, newer schemes or things like that are pretty cool too. Like Dyson's car, like that's just a great new scheme, but you kind of go back to like how racing was and how it started. And we were joking earlier that if you look at how Dennis's car was, everything was hand painted, right? So
which is the crazy part,
right? So you look at it and you say, like, as long as it took for us to actually wrap the car, could you imagine if we had to paint that car?
Exactly right. Back then, like when they were hand painting those cars, it was an art form. Like you actually had an artist on your team to be able to do that. And now it's just like we call up a guy and he's just like, okay, the car's done in a couple days. But no, like you did the throwback correct here, and you got all hand paint from the 90s. Like that's just crazy.
Well, especially when you get a nice donut along the side of the car, right? It's a little easier just to take a piece of vinyl and stick it back on than get the small brush out to start hand painting it again.
And that kind of reminds me of the pure stocks, because last year, over the past couple of years, some friends of mine, Megan Mitchell and her family, they've hand painted their car, and every week their dad repaints the car if there's a mark on it to make sure that car is as perfect as it was the first race it went out. And of course now we just have to have some blue vinyl so we can cover it up instead.
Yeah, my dad jokes around about it because at first he was like, you know what, he's so used to the old school of painting it too, right? But he's like, I was getting pretty good at that wrap because you would bring it back every week, and I was always having to fix something. I said, well, it's unfortunate that, sometimes I get into things and he has to fix it. But, yeah, it's a lot easier now that you can just, rewrap it, seam it, and it looks just as new as it did before you even started. So.
Yeah, which is absolutely awesome. But, of course, we want to get into the good stuff here. You are the 2023 Flamborough Speedway Mini Stock Champion. Obviously, how's been that since the last race in October? How's the offseason been treating you with knowing that you're the champion?
Well, I think that we had an expectation going into last year that we wanted to win the championship. I remember being here last year and saying so. And I don't know if it really gives you like a target on your back, but like now you're motivated to go back to back. So, winning the championship's great, but it's what you do the following year to follow up. And I'm really excited about the things that we've done in the off season. We made some significant changes, and I think it's only going to make us better. So I'm looking forward to challenging again, and my goal is to be back-to-back champion.
And with the tough competition you do, like, don't get me wrong, as much as you had a very, very dominant year last year where there was times where you were sweeping the nights in the features, there is some stiff competition in that mini stock field there. You got Caitlin Wallace, you got Dale Millard, you have Sean Taylor when he would come out. And I feel like this year maybe that field might get a little bit stronger. So obviously, but you're right, though. You got to, in my opinion, if you're the champion, you got a target on your back, no matter which way you look at it. But with that kind of pressure, how do you feel going into the season? What is that making sure, like, you got to make sure you hit your marks?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the preparation that you put into it, and I don't know if I'm really, there's not really, I think great competition, like, obviously, right? So I'm hoping that there's going to be a few more cars. I heard that there's going to be at least, I'm hoping for at least 12 to 14 cars weekly, right? So, I mean, if you have to start at the back, it's going to take you a lot longer to get to the front. Yeah. They've changed the handicap system now. So with the double features, if you win this week, next week you don't draw, you have to start at the back the next following week. So if you're handicapped by having to, if you win this week, next week you don't draw and maybe get the pole again, you have to start at the back. So that's going to be even more of a challenge. So sweeping the features is going to be a lot harder this year as well.
And I think that's the goal. And actually, I do actually like that idea, though, is, making sure that the next week that you don't have such an easy chance to go up there, pull, because usually, what is it, on the first features, when you guys go up to the tower to sign in, you guys would pull a pill. It doesn't matter if you swept the features the week before. But now with that added incentive, well, I guess it's not really an incentive because you don't really want to win at that point. You want to finish second on a more consistent basis by the sounds of it.
Well, no, but again, then if you finish second, then you're starting second to last, right? And then anybody that wasn't there the week before would still start behind you anyways. Yeah. So if someone come from Sunset or Peterborough and wanted to come out, if they weren't there the week before, they would still start behind us if we won the week before. But it's definitely going to put a little bit more of a challenge for us. But like I said, I'm confident in what we did last year. I'm even more confident in the changes that we made this year. So I know the challenge is going to be there, but I think you can only do what you can, and I think that we're pretty much set up the same way as we were last year, and I'm very excited to try it out this next year.
Yeah, I'm for sure going to be glad to be watching you on track because I know last year I was thoroughly impressed with how you race, and I'm thoroughly impressed with how you handled yourself throughout the entire year, and racing with that, and of course even traveling last year. You ended up going up to Sauble. I know you said it to me before, but last year you went to Peterborough as a spectator, and you said next year I'm bringing a car, and that's exactly what you did last year. Is you brought a car out to Peterborough for Autumn Colors. How is traveling to places like Sauble and Peterborough for you?
I like it because, well, Sauble, that was just kind of like a last minute decision. We raced on the Saturday. There was an invitational at Flamborough. Sean Taylor said that they were going up there. So I said, you know what? I think I'm going to go up there. So I actually, after the race on Saturday, took my truck trailer and I drove straight up to Sauble, slept in my truck so that I could race the next day. And I just absolutely love that track. I think we got in a few incidents where we had to come from the back a few times, and I think we counted. I think I passed like 46 cars, and it was mostly because of what I did, and got into a few situations where I caused a little bit of a spin out or something like that where I had to go to the back. So I made it a challenge for myself. And Sunset, we went there for the Allen Lake. So we went out there, and it's a very difficult track to really get a hold of. So that was a challenge, but I really liked the challenge. And then obviously Peterborough, the first weekend before it rained out, during practice and during the first couple heats, I was like, I don't know if I want to, I don't like this very much. And then we just gradually made, like we do, we made some adjustments and made some changes. And by the end of it, for the feature, we were running third and up front and passing cars, and I was like, now I really like it here. So I like going to other places because obviously my home track is Flamborough, and I want to win there, win the championship, but it's great to go to other places too and challenge yourself.
Which is obviously really good because I find if you stay stagnant or if you're very competitive at a singular track, that time you put in there, and if you decide to go, let's say, head off to another track, like let's say you were to go to, let's say, Ducas Open again, and they had an invitation for mini stocks, your ball game's going to be way off because, or even going to any other track where you're competitive, you're throwing away your whole notebook to start a new one. And of course, yeah, you're right. You got to make changes throughout a whole weekend because that's the only way your car's going to get better and you're going to get better.
Yeah, and the great thing too is that when we went to Sunset, like Jacob Sutcliffe, and he's like, if there's anything you need or any information or anything like that. So the great thing too is that when you go to these other places, and the racing community is so close that guys are always willing to give you a hand or give you some ideas. Not necessarily share everything they know, but I would do the same thing if they came to Flamborough. They're like, hey, what do you guys run? And be like, sure, I'll tell you. You still got to be able to run the car. It's just, I just like the racing community for that reason because we're all helpful. And if I can do anything to help anybody to come to Flamborough, by all means, I'll help you out so you can come and race with us.
And I think you hit a good spot there about the whole. You can help a competitor to get competitive,
right?
But once they get to a point where they're competitive with you, all bets are off. They got to figure out the rest on their own.
Yeah, I'll only share a little bit to get you in the right direction, but I'm not going to hand over my notebook or anything like that.
That's exactly it. We see that all the time in the Canadian Vintage Modifieds. We've had some guys really improve over the last couple of years, learning off the champion. They got competitive. As far as I know, they're no longer helping him.
Right.
He's got to figure out to pass him now.
Yeah.
Obviously, which is good because if there was something that was going to happen, I was really rooting for you for this one. I know we were trying to raffle off your car last year and hopefully get you into a pro late model, and unfortunately the numbers weren't there and it wasn't working out very well. But are you excited to be back behind the wheel of the mini stock again this year?
Yeah, we tried, and I thought to myself, I'm almost 45, and I got a late start in racing, so only been racing for really full seasons for 2 years, right? So I wanted to try something else to challenge myself into something else, but realistically, in the end, when you see the work that we put into the mini stock and the amount of homework that we put in, I think we talked about it before too, is that when the race is over, we're driving on the way home and we're already discussing what we're going to do to be better the following week, right? So we have such a good baseline going that I'm not disappointed. I would have been nice to try something else and move up, but I'm just as excited as I would. You could put me in anything and I'd be excited to race it. So.
Yeah, judging by the cars that are even in the show today, I'd be willing to jump into anything. Maybe. Well, I don't know if I'd be able to fit into either the Pro Sprint here or even in the Legend car, but hell, I'd give it a go.
Yeah, I got into actually last year. I got into one of those cars, and I don't know if I could get in and out every week. I was trying to get out, and I was kind of rolled to the side, and the guy was trying to give me a hand on how to get out, and I'm like, I don't know if I could do this every week. I feel like I'm sitting on the floor. I like my Mustang where I can just kind of sit up top a little bit.
Did you hear Feeney there?
No, I didn't.
He goes, they have butter. And we got our good friend of ours, Mike Pops, over here in the Salvo Speedway booth, just having a hoot. Sorry, Mike, had to call you out on that one. Mike is Mike. We've had Pops on before, and I want to give a little shout out to him. Hey, Pops, I'm doing what you're doing now. I got a different hat on compared to the first show this morning. On our episode with Mike, he ended up switching his hat 3 times. It's in the episode.
It's like the victory lane, right?
Yeah, we didn't
photos.
catch it until the third one. It was like 10 minutes near the end of the episode of him being on the show, and he's just like, all of a sudden, that's when we caught him switching the hat. And it's like, have you been doing that the whole time? And Megan's like, I thought I saw you do that, and I didn't recognize the first time. So when I went back, I actually had to watch the episodes to find where he switched his hats.
Oh, there you go, yeah. Just like the victory lane photos, and everybody's holding up the finger. Then they all hold on a second. We'll grab the next hat and put it on. Yeah, that's a great idea.
I can't do that when I record because I wear my headphones. So there's no way I'm being able to because I have to remove the headphones.
It would be so noticeable.
It would be so exactly. You can't get away with it.
You could probably CGI that somehow, couldn't you?
Then
get like a blank hat and you could do that.
I mean, I probably could. That'd be. Brandon, can you start looking up that for us?
See if you can CGI your sponsors on your hats.
Oh God!
I'm gonna talk to my sponsors and see if we can get some hats, and then we'll do the same thing when we get into Victory Lane at Flamborough.
There you go. And then at the end of the night, get your team to bring out the bag of hats and just.
And then we'll all just switch them and take them.
Exactly. That would be so much better. We need to get the fans involved.
You know what I was thinking too is that at Flamborough, you see some of the old, like when Dennis and them are racing, and you're taking like I can't remember what series, but they're taking the photos on the track by the flag stand. I like Flamborough. You got the Victory Lane and that, but that'd be kind of nice to have that right in front of the stands, right in front of the crowd and stuff like that. Because then you could actually do that. You could actually, take the hat and give it to somebody when you're done.
It'd be nice. We were talking about it this week on the show with Jennifer Hatch, and we were definitely talking. We were talking about fan engagement and how drivers. What can drivers do to really help promote themselves and essentially give a moment to those fans that is going to last a lifetime? Hell, actually, earlier this week, it took us less than 24 hours to find a fan of Jennifer's that in 2004 gave her a custom flag, and it was so adorable. Did you see the picture?
Yeah, I saw it on Facebook. Then.
And it took us less than 24 hours to find her, and they've already reconnected. They've already chatted. There's already stuff I don't know how much is in the works. We're gonna have to talk. I'm gonna be talking with Jennifer tomorrow about that. But the fact that we were able to find a fan and she still remembers it and still owns it. Fans mean so much to drivers, and drivers mean so much to fans. You need both to coexist and to improve yourselves.
Well, we always, as a kid, right, we remember, that was, even if you went to your local short track racing and you would see a guy in Victory Lane, I mean, that guy was your hero, man.
Yep.
Just seeing him in the pits and getting a hero card or getting a signature from that guy, you were a fan of that guy forever. And you know what? Maybe he wasn't the best driver. Yeah. It didn't matter, but you gravitated to, as a little kid, you gravitated to certain people, and you were a fan for life. It didn't matter.
I can tell you this much right now. My youngest boy, he was, I want to say 4, maybe 5. I took him to Varney one night. I didn't realize it was actually kids' ride night there. both boys got into one of the hot rods or I guess it was a Thunder car there, and he just told me a few weeks ago he still remembers getting into that car. I haven't showed him pictures of it since then.
Right.
And he still remembers that car. He's like, Dad, do you remember when we went to Varney or to the racetrack, and we got to hop in the race car, and he took us around. It was an orange car. I'm like, what? Like, I still remember it, but
yeah, I mean, that's the cool thing. We do that at Flamborough, right, with the kids' night, and just seeing the kids' face when you just kind of give it a little bit of gas down the back straightaway, right? You see them like last year there was a little guy he's sitting there, and we put a little seat in ours, right? We had like an old sprint car seat, so we sat it on the floor on the right hand side, and the kid got in and he was all happy, and then I got down the back straightaway and I gave it some gas, and all of a sudden he just started screaming, let me out. But that engagement with the kids, like that lineup for the kids to get in the car is huge, and it takes a little while, but man, they have so much fun. And I remember doing that as a kid, right?
Oh yeah, same here. I remember it's one of the most fun nights you have at the racetrack. That and Meet the Drivers nights are always my favorites.
Yep, and we always make sure that, like my brother does, we bought a couple checker flags and got all the drivers that we could to sign it, to give it to a kid.
Awesome.
Just walked in the stands and said, "Here you go." Like, I mean, that's where that fan engagement is what you need.
It's
for
the
sure.
small things.
Yep.
Like, I know Flamborough was really hard because of the way the access is to get to the grandstands. I know it's harder for them to be able to pull that off. But it would be nice if either during an intermission, because we got 15 to 20 minutes at like a track like Flamborough, it'd be nicer if we can have more access for the drivers to get over there.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but it's the time crunch that everyone wants. We're all trying to rush the night now instead of just letting it be. Yeah,
but I mean, I find sometimes, like you said, during that intermission, like I'd have no issue with just taking a walk across the track. I mean, there's 20 minutes. There's usually, maybe the announcer's doing something with the crowd anyways. So what would make the difference if one of us or two of us or three of us just walked across the track for that period of time? I guess the crunch would be depending on how the feature's set up. If I've got to get ready, but then you grab someone from another class and you just do that, and you get that fan engagement, right? So
the way I see it, whoever is the last, if you're in the middle, you have a really good opportunity to be able to go across, but of course, like sometimes, and this is where I miss the whole just pure stocks, mini stocks, super stocks, late models, traveling class or touring division or whatever, right? And I kind of wish we could go back to that because it gives everyone a little bit more time. Because as soon as the pure stocks could go over for like 5 minutes, just a couple guys. It just takes a couple people to go over and interact with those fans. Like, just grab some hero cards, grab whatever, and just go over there. Now, a track like Peterborough. I'm not pointing at you. I'm just talking because you raced at Peterborough, Brandon. But like Peterborough, Sauble, Sunset, they have really nice, easy access points for the drivers to go over.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have an idea to do it, it's not something you can't do, right? So I mean, if you want to do that, I mean, if it just takes a commitment, and I can tell you that of all of us drivers, we would have no issue with that because I mean, if we can get some more engagement, and then maybe the kid that goes there that you talk to or you give something to or you hand to, maybe he tells his friends at school, and next thing you know, the mother and father are going, you know what, we haven't been to Flamborough in years, or we haven't been to Sunset or anywhere in years. Next thing you know, they're coming out to the track and they're bringing the kids. Because let's face it, I mean, there's a lot of an older crowd that's going, and we got to be able to replace them as we're going along, right? You got to be able to get that engagement with the young kids.
And again, that's where the kids ride night. And tracks like, I hate to kind of bring it up again, but Peterborough Speedway, they do a great job with that because opening night, they got fan appreciation, free admission. They got a bunch of tuning nights, and it makes it really affordable for families to go. And I'm not saying all tracks are expensive or anything like that, but after a while, if you go continuously throughout a year, unless you go once, it does add up in funds. And that's track's got to make money, and we're all well aware of that. But if we're able to do it, like, who was it? Brandon, I need you to help me out here because I can't remember who it was. There was a driver who ran the Ontario Sportsman Series, and he had a special car, and I can't remember what it was, but he would go around to schools, and I want to say it was Schneider sponsors. I know this would be the best time for KMK, but I remember I can't remember the name off. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to find him really easily after this, and I know that. But he used to go to take his car to schools, and he ended up doing burnouts in the parking lot. And that right there to me tells you, like, he's trying to engage the fans, or not even fans, trying to engage a whole generation.
Right.
And, that's where I miss seeing the cars that go into the Christmas parades, and it sucks because of insurance reasons now they can't drive them, and so they got to be on a trailer. I'm like, well, if you actually heard the cars sing, it'd be a lot different.
Right.
Because I went to Flamborough for the Flamborough Santa Claus parade in 2008, and they had four late models just ripping down the street of Flamborough there, and I'm like, man, like that just.
There was somewhere down in the U.S. too. They did that with the modifieds. I can't remember. I think Matt Williamson was down there where they did a parade with the modifieds going down, and you could the streets were just lined with fans just watching it, right? Because it's not something you see every day. So.
No, and that's the cool part is you got to make it interesting for people to come out, and I find the short tracks, like, as much as people hate on NASCAR and their finishes, we've had some really great finishes in NASCAR this year, but. When we look at the short tracks, they have some of the best finishes, and you get multiple great finishes at night. If you're watching it close enough, let's say, Dale's right on your butt, he's coming up fast. You see that closing rate, and you're like, I'm standing in turn 4 usually. I start getting hyped because as soon as he pulls out a 4 and starts trying to go low, I'm like, did he get there? Did he get there? And it's like, nope. It's like, okay, that's fine, but it's still a great finish.
Right.
And that's the beauty part is short track racing really produces a lot of great finishes.
Yeah, definitely, and it's funny you say that because it depends on where you're sitting at Flamborough. If you're in the pit side, if you're sitting towards turn 2, and you look down the straightaway, all of a sudden you don't see, then all of a sudden you look and you go, oh, there he is, right? And you're anticipating what's going on, and you see everyone looking down there to see what's happening on that last lap. So. Oh
yeah, and really, realistically, unless you go to a dirt track. There's never a bad seat on an asphalt track, but if you go to a dirt track, I find sitting in turn 4 is one of the best because Jacqueline likes going to the dirt track because, especially sitting in turn 4, because that's where all the dust goes. she just likes getting dusty at the track, and that's one of the reasons why she loves to go. But on an asphalt track, I find no matter where you're sitting, you got a really good vantage point. But I'd rather be sitting down by turn 1.
Yeah. It doesn't really matter where you sit, right? But as long as you're there, and that's the important thing. Like I showed you that video or sent you that link last night of like Flamborough back in the 90s, and everyone was you were talking about the racing, but then my first focus was seeing how packed the stands were.
Yeah.
Right. And I've got pictures of me and my brother and my mom and that at Flamborough when my dad was racing there. And, like, you couldn't see a bare spot anywhere. And I don't know how you get there. I mean, everyone's trying. I think John this year, he's got a few promotions where, it's $15 to get in the admissions.
Which is fantastic news.
Right? I mean, if you go to see a movie with your family, what does that cost to go, right?
A movie nowadays is costing you $15.
Right.
And you're sitting there for 2 hours.
Right, and you get a bucket of popcorn, that's another $15. So, I mean, it's affordable.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's entertainment everywhere, and I think that a lot of times now we talk about it too, is there's so many options for kids for entertainment.
Yeah.
When we were younger, Saturday night racing you didn't have very many options, right? So I guess it's trying to get back to that, but we understand that the technology and all the streaming and watching and all that stuff is going to continue to get even more. But how do we get people to actually sit there live and watch it? That's the next thing.
Well, and that was the thing is if anyone has Netflix, they got that new NASCAR documentary, or not even documentary, but they followed them throughout the playoffs last year. I was actually disappointed because it was 5 episodes.
Right.
if you gave me 10 episodes of that and showing each race,
Yeah.
maybe 11 episodes, so you can show me the final race,
Right.
then all the preparations throughout the playoffs, and talk to all 16 drivers, it would have been a much better experience than what they did in 5 episodes.
Yeah, and I think they were just so focused on the handful of guys, right?
Yeah.
Like, so dedicating almost, one episode to, this is Denny Hamlin or this is Joey Logano or Ryan. They kind of like, yeah, they made a series out of it, but they focused only on those people that finished like the top 5 guys, really. And I think they could have done a heck of a lot better job. I know what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
They were trying to, copy F1 and do that kind of thing, but they do such a great job with how they do it. NASCAR just kind of missed it a little bit. And I actually, same thing. I watched the first couple episodes, and normally, Drive to Survive or any of those other shows, I watch it front to back.
Yeah.
And I kind of left a couple days before I watched the rest of it.
Yeah, like I watched the whole series because I thought it was like interesting to say the least, and I was I was excited to see what was next, but instantly off the hop I was like, ooh, like episodes 1 like is the play. I'm like, ooh, I didn't know there was only 5 episodes.
Right.
And I was really disappointed when I saw that they kind of talked to them, and next thing you know, they fast forward through three races, and it's like, you got to show me what happened in that race of what happened. Like, they focused on people I don't think they should have focused on. If you gave me 11 episodes and do the Daytona race and then plus the 10 Cup races to finish out the season, and actually go over each hour episode featuring all 16 drivers at some point, you would find a much better storylines. And there was fans who came out from that, and they've been excited with so far the racing season. It's like, okay, now great, you're watching NASCAR. How do we get you to that local short track?
Well, that's the thing is that, but I think too, when it comes to getting those fans and getting young people involved is tracks have to be willing sometimes to think outside the box too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just because this is the way we always did it in the past doesn't necessarily mean that this is the way we're going to do it in the future. So I think sometimes too, there are certain situations where you go, you know what, maybe we just have to change a little bit of our thinking to kind of, let's step outside the box and take a chance. So what is it going to hurt? If you don't have people coming to short track races, then what's the harm in trying something else?
Yeah.
Right? So
hell, I'm waiting for, I need to want to contact some tracks. I have a great opportunity, a great idea for a track to run. And essentially, like, the kids' bike nights?
Yeah.
Like, not even like when they get awarded bikes. I'm talking about like when they bring their own bike from home and they get to go for a lap out there. Give me 5 kids, give me 5 drivers. If a driver wins, if a kid wins, they get to take home $100. The driver wins, $300 gets to go to a charity of their choice.
It's a great idea.
And it creates some great competition. And of course, that kid's going to sit there like, especially if you're biking in your fire suit.
Right.
First of all, that's going to be awesome photos and video. Like, I'm just going to be real with that. Like, I would 100% have to.
Well, I'd have to wear my helmet because I'm going to go into turn 1 and I'm going to biff it anyways, right? So I'd be driving around with my fire suit and my helmet because I'd be afraid of getting into the corner on a bike, especially if you were racing, sitting in your racing seat, and then you get on a bike. I can guarantee you go into one going, oh, there's all kinds of grip in turn 1 because I just got out of my race car. You go into your bicycle and go flying through the corner.
That's what we don't want, but I think it'd be awesome if we could do something like that. Like, we see some great promotions all over Ontario, and I just realized we've been rambling on this for quite a while. And that's not even nowhere where we wanted to go with this today. Getting back on track here, your 2024 season. Where are we going to be able to find you this year?
Well, we're going to be full time at Flamborough. We're going to be heading for that championship there for back-to-back, and then we're still going to sprinkle in some other events. I'm planning on going up to Sunset. I'm not sure about Sauble if they were doing that mini stock like we'd had last year. I didn't see that on their schedule.
Well, they got a Brad. We got 2 mini stock races, correct, at Sauble? When are the dates? I needed a calendar up here.
Well, there's a schedule down there. We just didn't bring it up.
We got a schedule over there too. July 27th and August 10th.
Well, I'll have to see if that conflicts with our schedule at Flamborough. But
well, good thing for you that I can easily check that.
Oh, okay. See if there's any conflicts.
The good part is if you guys head over to joemedia.ca, you guys are able to check out where these drivers are going to be racing this year. And, of course, I just re-upped yours.
Right.
So, let's see here. July 27th, Flamborough Speedway. And what was the other date?
August the 10th.
August 10th. And you're also racing at Flamborough that night.
So, unfortunately, I will not be able to go
I'm sorry. Sorry for breaking the bad news there.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. We got a bone stock invitation.
As a celebrity driver.
As a celebrity driver.
That's not much of a celebrity driver. I actually, last year, I did get into a bone stock, Alex Stewart's car.
Yep.
We did the double that night, and I remember getting into that car thinking, wow, this is so much different than the mini stock. I went into turn one, and I had the thing all the way sideways. So I don't know if you really want me driving your bone stock, but... All right. I'll find a day where I can do that. I'll come up and do that.
Look at that. We're already finding rides for other drivers here at Motorama this year. As Mike Thomson just got an open invitation from Pops Campbell up there at Stouffville Speedway to drive one of the bone stocks. You know what? I think this year is going to be a really good year for racing in Ontario, and of course, like traveling around, running for the championship at Flamborough, I think is a good thing. It's like I said, it has one of the better competitions I find in the province. But I know you're also going to be hitting up that Alan Lincoln Cup at Sunset Speedway in September. And, of course, I'm going to assume you're going to end off the season at Autumn Colors again?
Absolutely. Like I said, 2 years ago when I went up there, Sean Taylor was up there, and I decided to go up just to kind of give him a hand. And then the minute you walk into the field and then you see all the cars and then going back out and you're driving out and like, we're parked in the field. And then we went out there, and I was sitting on pit road, and as the cars went by starting that race, I was like, yeah, I'm coming back next year. So last year was fun. We were running third, and then we weren't running third with about 15, 16 laps left. But I'm definitely going to go up there to end the year again next year. That was so much fun last year. I'm definitely going to do that again this year.
That is a race weekend I've been trying to get out to because it always seems like such a blast. But family commitments, obviously, that they take precedent at that point. As far as I'm concerned, my race usually ends at the same time as Flamborough's does. But it is a great way to end the season. I am thankful that G-Force was able to broadcast this past year. They do amazing work for bringing tracks across, like for guys like myself who can't make it out to every single race.
Right.
It is great to be able to just sit there and watch on my own terms and enjoy the race. It doesn't matter if I know who won or not, but because then you get to see strategy play out, you get to see how cars are doing. Because as much I love reading your guys' write-ups at the end of the race night. Nothing beats going back and watching that footage to see what exactly was going on. And drivers can read drivers' minds in certain situations, but I like seeing what is really taking place on the track, and because you never know what's going to happen on social media.
Right. No, I mean, they do a fantastic job. And like I said, I mean, obviously we want everybody there live to see it, but it is nice that if you can't, you could actually go. And most of the time, too, like, even if I'm not watching it live, it's nice to be able to go back, like you said, and watch it, a couple days later or the next day. Or sometimes I stay off social media on purpose when the APC races happen on the same Saturday we're racing because I don't want to know who won. So I purposely stay off social media so I can watch it as if it was live the next day. And every once in a while you click on something and you go, oh, no, I saw the victory photo.
I usually don't mind to see who wins. But I like to go in and watch and actually see the strategy play out and watch that guy, race from 10th up to 5th and then, going into turn 1 or something and get spun out and see him go to the back of the field and drive up through it. Because it is always fun. It's always fun to see. It's fun. Like I said, it's fun reading the write-ups, but actually being able to go back and kind of relive it. You see different things play out that you may not have seen the first time.
Yeah, because sometimes you're watching it and you already know the finish, but you see a guy that's in 12th or 13th, you're like, how the heck did he even get to 3rd or 2nd or right? So then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that happened. Then you're kind of surprised because you know the ending, even if you if you don't want to know, if you do know the ending, and you watch it later on, and you're like, how the heck did that guy? Because when I was watching him, he was in mid-pack, and all of a sudden he's in third.
And that's the beauty part of being able to watch those things, right? Is really actually being able to see what happens and what plays. And it could be such as simple as a wreck, or, maybe you can see the car start off loose, but as soon as that middle part of the race goes in, or the later half, the car just gets perfect, and he's able to drive that thing like it's nobody's business, and it's one of the best things about racing. Yeah,
well, it's a true. When you watch Survivor or anything like that, it's not scripted. You don't know what's going to happen every single week. So that's why everybody should come out every Saturday night, because you just never know what's going to happen.
And the storylines that come out each week, even if you come out about 4 or 5 times a year, you kind of grasp the storylines that are happening between racers and races and stuff like that. But you're right. Nothing beats going every week and then really seeing how those storylines play out. It could be such as you had a run-in the week before with a competitor, and then the following week he takes you out or you take him out or something. It's like, blood's boiling. Like we see that all the time.
Yeah. Well, and it's going to happen, right? I think, like Mike Gilmore said the one time, he said, we race with each other every week. Eventually you're going to get into somebody, even if you don't mean to, right? But there's always those little rivalries too between certain drivers, right? So you kind of know what's, sometimes what was maybe a little accidental, but maybe a little bit not accidental. But those are always fun as well, right? So, because then you're going back next week going, well, I'm going to stay back here because I don't know what's going to happen up there, right? So, but then that is, the every Saturday night is, sometimes you create rivalries that weren't there.
Yep.
And maybe it's just something that happened the week before, but you got to go the next week to see what happens.
And that's exactly it. And that's one of the beauty things about making sure you guys come out to any short track racing in Ontario. We've heard people talk about it before, about how they weren't even if they were announcing the night before, they couldn't talk about the next track, even though those same 2 competitors were racing at that track. And they're like, well, don't bring the last night's stuff to here. It's like, well, that makes good content for you. Like that brings people in, because let's be real. We all love racing. We don't want to see cars wrecked up, but who loves seeing wrecked race cars? The fans. Well,
that's true, right? Because as a fan, you go to the races and you see a wreck and you're, ooh. As a driver, you're like, no, because now I feel sorry because I know what it's going to cost to fix that, right? So now when you see a wreck, I'm like, oh, no, I don't. As a kid and as a fan, you loved it, but as a racer now, you absolutely dread that, because all you can think about is what it's going to cost to get it fixed for the next week.
And that's obviously the terrible part. We don't want to see wrecked race cars. We just want to see good battles.
Right.
And of course, accidents do happen on the racetrack, and we see it all the time, each week in and week out. Sometimes people spin out, some people make a bump in the wrong area and they send them off to the infield, but it's always fun to actually walk in the pits afterwards. Let's be real.
Right. You see like a group sitting over here, and you see a group over there, and you're like, well, they're not talking to them. So you're like, well, I can tell something happened on the track with those two, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and then, but, and sometimes it's, it's funny as race car drivers too, right? And is no matter what happens, it's never your fault.
Yeah.
Right. So there's always 3 sides to the story. His and then, or hers, and then the truth somewhere in between. But it's funny because if you go to talk to one guy, he tells you one story, the other one tells you, that's not how I saw it. But there's always 3 sides to every story.
Absolutely. And of course, everyone's opinions are always going to be different.
Right.
And you're never going to come to the same conclusion.
Yeah. You're like, but I was there. And then he's like, no, you weren't. And you're like, but I was. And then it's like, well, don't do that again. And like, what if you do that again? It's fun to see every week.
And that's why we love Pedal Power at Flamborough, because usually they show the good stuff.
And then they slow down the wreck so you can actually see it in slow motion what you did wrong.
Oh, exactly, right? It's like calling you out without them calling you out. And it always provides some great footage. So thank you always to Pedal Power at Flamborough Speedway for bringing us those races each week. We're going to wrap up here with you for right now. Is there anyone you want to thank for getting you here to the show throughout your racing career?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it starts with, like my dad, my brother. Those are the guys, my Uncle Charlie, my cousin Troy, who every week are at the track with us, and they sacrifice a lot of their time. Like my dad, every single week is fixing something that I did, right? So, and the car comes and it shows, right? Like with best appearing car, like last year, it comes back to the track the way it was when it, like as it came off the week before, because he takes pride in doing that. And obviously, like great partners like, Butcher and Banker and Fawn Hill. I said it in Victory Lane. Best burgers in Niagara. So if you get a chance to go out that way, please stop by Butcher and Banker. Tatra Shoes in Dunnville, great company, every step made in Canada, proudly Canadian safety boots and shoes. The Nutty Neighbors, and obviously Speed Composites. I couldn't do it without them, right? So big shout out to them, and then obviously like family. They're the number one, and there's a reason why that I can do it. Like my brother and myself working on that car, he was having fits trying to make sure that it was perfect, and I mean, that's just because of the pride that they all put into it. So it's not just me, it's everybody else that works on the car that does a great job for me.
All right, Mike. Well, where can they find you on social media this year?
Well, they can find me on Facebook at TBR, Thompson Brother Racing. Not so much in Jomo Media does a great job for me because I'm not so great at the social media stuff. I wish I could do a little bit more of it, but it's great working with you guys because you guys do a great job helping us and promoting us, where us older guys don't really get into so much of the social media stuff. If you need some help,
just ask. I'll be more than willing to.
As much as I'd love to do more often the things that you guys do, but I start thinking about it, and then it stresses me out. So I'm like, you know what, Jomo, you do a great job. I'll let you take care of it.
All right, Mike. Well, we're going to get you out of here for the night. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Appreciate
it. For anyone who's still hanging around here, thank you guys so much for listening for me rant for the last 45 minutes here, or listen to us rant for the last 45 minutes. It's been a lot of fun. Make sure you guys tune into the True North Racing Podcast. We drop episodes weekly on Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube. You guys, if you guys want to, you guys can subscribe to us on all major podcast platforms. We also have a website, joemedia.ca, where we promote drivers like our driver right here, Mike Thomson. He's been with us for the second year now. We've enjoyed working with him, and we're excited to partner with you again for 2024. Actually, we got another Joe Media driver walking by here. Actually, that's part of our Sticker to Discuss package. We got Ollie Ferguson walking by. Don't act like you don't see us, Ollie. We can thank everyone here at Motorama for listening to us for the last little bit. This is my last show for today, but I will be back on the stage tomorrow, so please feel free to come stop by, check us out. Tomorrow at 11, we got Caitlin Wallace joining us. She's a mini stock competitor just like Mike here, and we're going to be excited to chat with her for the next little bit. We just signed her as a Joe Media driver not too long ago.
Oh yeah,
she just rejoined us, so that's I got to get going on that stuff. So that's what I'll be doing for most of the afternoon is updating her page. But if you guys want to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, at Joe Media. You guys are going to be catching some race day vlogs all year long, featuring drivers. I don't think we actually have any in the show this year, but we'll definitely be riding along with some drivers and posting it on there. And of course, we're going to be always. Of course, we got to thank everyone who always listens to us and supports us. And thank you to all our partners, Vision 20 Studios for presenting the podcast, Graphic Design Studio for presenting our guest segment, and Taylor to you for bringing us our fan question period. Unfortunately, we're not doing the fan questions right now. But actually, before we let you go, though, hey, Feeney. I think Feeney had a question. Did you still have a question for Mike that you wanted to ask him? How many times are you racing at Peterborough?
Well, he's trying to convince me to go more often. But so far, we'll be going up once.
Yeah.
Okay, so apparently a test night as well. So I'm gonna have to redo my schedule because I'm already going up to Sauble. Now I'm gonna twice at Peterborough, but at least once. But maybe a little bit more, but at least once.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to the True North Racing podcast today. If we decide to come back up here, we'll let you guys know. But for right now, this is my last show for today. We'll see you guys again tomorrow at 11 a.m. I'm John Morrison. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Joe Media. Thank you guys for listening to us, and enjoy Motorama Custom Car and Motorsports Expo.
If you got the need for speed, John Morrison interviewing guests in the industry. Hey, short track, stock car racing, gotta get it hype. Saturday night under the lights, hear the engine rooming by. Smell the gas and feel the vibe, going into overdrive. Drop the flag